Is this the same for you, Angie? Is it like, do you, because I know someone mentioned in the chat, Khulud was mentioning in the chat that sometimes, I think it was Khulud, that sometimes Lebanese don't identify as Arab. How do you feel about this with your Druze? So is Druze identity partly linked with ethnicity and culture as well? Because I know that there is there is a lineage about being a Druze as well, right? In terms of who you can marry, who you can't. Do you identify as Arab yourself, or is it slightly?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely identify as Arab. Like some Lebanese, there are some that are so attached to like being European that they're like, oh, I'm French. Which I'm like, no, you're not, sorry, but hate to break it to you.
Like
And then there are many that are like, oh, we're not Arab, we're Phoenician, you know, or like the Canaan was the indigenous. So like, I would understand that. Like, for example, with the Amazigh in North Africa, like the communities and languages and attire, like everything from the Amazigh, I feel like still exists and is still alive. Whereas in Lebanon, like nobody speaks Phoenician, like nobody you know, like there's no like Phoenician folklore. We speak Arabic. Our music is, you know, follows like Arabic maqamat and whatever. Like, I feel like the culture and everything, at least at this point, is like Arab. There's nothing else. So to try to like connect to something, like, especially when they just because they were occupied by the French, like everywhere that has been occupied, like obviously it's French is integrated in some way, but just from what I've seen and being Lebanese myself, I feel like so many, like they want to be French instead of what they are. Like I feel like the brainwash is so deep. Specifically regarding the Druze community, like I do find that the French identity is usually the Christian population in Lebanon that are like that. Druze, at least all the ones that I've ever spoken to, like we tend to identify as Arab. But at the same time, like because there's no conversion into the Druze sect, it becomes almost like a race in and of itself. So there are some that are like, I'm not Arab, I'm Druze. And I'm like, again, like that doesn't make, oh yeah, the Druze identity in Israel, yeah. But yeah, so there is that kind of like split. But I do find that Christians more often are like, no, like we're Phoenician or like French. Yeah, I personally identify also as Arab, and even the Druze community originated in Egypt. It was started by an Egyptian guy and this like Persian guy.
I didn't know that. Can you
Yeah, it originated in Cairo, actually, which is probably where my hair comes from.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. It seems really similar. The situation with Druze seems kind of similar with the Jewish situation, where it's kind of semi-cultural, semi-religious, semi-ethnic, you know?
No, definitely, yeah. And I'm seeing, yeah, like even so Druze, like all across, I do find that the Druze that are in Israel / occupied Palestine, like the ones that are in the Golan Heights, they're like, no, we're Syrian, we're Druze. The ones that are in more like the Palestinian areas, I do believe that part of it's just for survival purposes. They're like, we're not Arab, but again, that's a whole other can of beans to discuss. Yeah, everyone's like,
we're going to discuss this next week. We have a call on.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, we can discuss it next week for sure. It would just take too much time.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. We're definitely going to take a note of that, about if kind of these minority group identity is part of a kind of evolutionary thing or a survival. Yeah.
So just a quick note on all these interesting perspectives, especially when it comes to identity and what shapes one's identity. You know, because by the end of the day, even academically speaking, identity is a construct, and it comes under the influence of many factors. One of them even is the social engineering of how identity is shaped. And this is why, from my perspective, being born in Egypt, which is part of Africa, and still with Arabic, I don't see a contradiction in belonging to all of these circles or or even if I may say spheres. So I don't see a contradiction between being Egyptian, being African, being Arab, speaking English, speaking Spanish, being a global citizen. So they don't have to be contradictory to each other, or it has to be only one to the exclusion of the others. Like because of the point that Khulud mentioned, that some people would come up to her and they would challenge her way of presenting the Arab countries. So this is my perspective on this, and I would love to also to listen to your thoughts on this. Does it have to be like a sole factor, identity, or it can be open to more than one circle and more than one sphere?